Have you ever wondered what unfolds when the offspring of a city's top law enforcement official believes himself immune to legal consequences and physically attacks a 70-year-old combat veteran in plain view? This presumptuous young individual entered my courtroom, certain that his father's position would protect him from accountability. Yet when I compelled his father to make an impossible choice between family loyalty and the principles he swore to uphold, the resulting moment became the most discussed incident in the annals of Providence justice. The accused appeared before me with arrogance written across his face and proclaimed, "My father controls this city. You're powerless against me, old-timer." The chamber went completely still, yet nobody realized I possessed crucial information. Police Commander Andrew Bennett occupied a rear seat in my courtroom, observing his offspring demolish everything he'd constructed across 3 decades of service. And the choice he was moments away from making would shatter hearts, rebuild confidence in our judicial system, and demonstrate that certain fathers value integrity over shielding their children's wrongdoing. Before I share this remarkable account in complete detail, I must mention that fewer than 5% of those following my channel have subscribed. If you share my convictions about genuine justice, about respecting our military veterans, and that powerful individuals must face consequences for their conduct, click that subscribe button immediately. This account deserves widespread attention, and you'll want to witness how it concludes. It was a frigid November dawn at Providence Municipal Courthouse. I, Judge Victor, was reviewing what appeared to be a standard assault proceeding. Throughout my judicial tenure, I've presided over countless cases, yet examining the documents for this particular matter, I sensed something unusual. The injured party was a 70-year-old Vietnam combat veteran named William Santos. The accused was 32-year-old Brandon Bennett, offspring of our police commander Andrew Bennett. The case documentation before me revealed a troubling sequence of events. 3 days earlier, William Santos was exercising his dog at Roger Williams Park when Brandon Bennett, operating his BMW at dangerous velocity, nearly struck him. When Santos gestured for Brandon to reduce speed, the younger man halted the vehicle, exited, and assaulted the elderly veteran. I examined the accounts from 3 independent observers. Brandon forcefully pushed Santos onto the concrete, resulting in head trauma against the pavement. When passers-by attempted to assist, Brandon purportedly stated, "Are you aware of my identity? My father commands the police department. Contact the authorities. I challenge you." He then departed, abandoning the 70-year-old veteran bleeding on the ground. I reviewed the medical documentation: cranial trauma, 3 fractured ribs, and a shattered wrist. 2 evenings at Rhode Island Hospital. The confrontation was captured by surveillance equipment. The recording became a viral sensation, and the entire Providence community was demanding accountability. That morning, my courtroom reached capacity. Media representatives, community members, veterans, everyone attended. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation. Yet here's what nobody in that chamber understood, except myself. Commander Andrew Bennett sat in the final row, wearing civilian attire, his credentials concealed. He hadn't informed his offspring about his attendance. Precisely at 10:30, the bailiff announced the matter: State of Rhode Island versus Brandon Michael Bennett, charged with assault and battery against an elderly individual. I observed Brandon Bennett stride into my courtroom. He conducted himself as though he possessed the space: costly suit, premium timepiece gleaming beneath the illumination, and that expression, that conceited expression that instantly provokes irritation. He appeared neither contrite nor concerned. He seemed bothered that he must squander his time with us. Following him came his counsel, Philip Davidson, among the city's most costly defense attorneys. However, the instant that caused my internal tension occurred when Brandon passed the section where William Santos was seated. The veteran wore his military cap, his limbs secured in a cast. Brandon didn't acknowledge him whatsoever. No recognition of fault, no contrition. I glanced upward from the documents. My gaze, which typically conveys understanding, transformed icy in that instant. I'd already viewed the footage. I'd already reached my determination. This young individual would receive an education today. "Mr. Bennett," I commenced in a controlled, authoritative voice, "you face charges of assault and battery against an elderly individual, specifically Mr. William Santos, a 70-year-old Vietnam combat veteran. What is your plea?" His attorney sprang upward initially. "Your Honor, my client enters a not guilty plea. We maintain this represents mistaken identification." I elevated my palm, halting him. "Counselor, I addressed your client, not you. Mr. Bennett, do you possess the ability to speak?" Brandon rose, and here his presumption was completely visible. He adjusted his blazer, made direct eye contact with me, maintaining his smirk, and declared, "Not guilty, Your Honor. This entire situation is absurd." The term absurd lingered in the atmosphere like an insult. I gradually removed my spectacles. Those familiar with my proceedings in Providence recognize this as my characteristic gesture before returning someone to reality. "Absurd?" I inquired. "Mr. Bennett, I've examined the surveillance recording. I've studied the hospital documentation. I've viewed the photographs of Mr. Santos's injuries. Would you care to reconsider your characterization of this matter as absurd?" Brandon glanced toward his attorney, who was indicating he should remain silent, but the individual's pride wouldn't permit retreat. "Your Honor, respectfully," he stated, and we understand disrespect typically follows such phrases. "This is receiving unwarranted attention. Some elderly individual obstructed my path. I scarcely made contact, and presently I'm hauled into court like a felon." The courtroom collectively gasped. Some elderly individual, and scarcely made contact with a man who endured 2 hospital nights. I deliberately positioned my spectacles upon the desk. My tolerance had evaporated. "Mr. Bennett," I stated in a tranquil voice containing steel, "before we continue, I require clarification. Are you acquainted with Mr. Santos's identity?" Brandon displayed indifference. "Some individual who was annoying me." William Santos occupied the gallery with the composed dignity of someone who experienced warfare, yet his fellow veterans were enraged. I rose from my position and advanced toward the barrier. "This represents an uncommon action for me. It signified something significant was imminent." "Mr. Santos," I addressed the veteran, "would you kindly rise and inform Mr. Bennett of your identity?" William gradually stood, supporting himself with his uninjured arm. "Your Honor, my designation is William Santos. I served in the United States Marine Corps from 1968 through 1971. 2 deployments in Vietnam, received the Purple Heart and Bronze Star for bravery. I'm a retired firefighter. I've resided in this community for 5 decades, and 3 days prior, this individual," he indicated Brandon without observing him, "assaulted me merely because I requested he reduce his speed in a park." Complete silence descended upon the chamber. I acknowledged Santos and rotated toward Brandon. "Mr. Bennett, do you comprehend what you just heard? You assaulted a war hero, an individual who dedicated 30 years rushing into infernos to rescue lives, and you labeled him some elderly individual." Brandon's smirk started slipping, yet the arrogance persisted. "Your Honor, I was unaware he was a veteran. How could I have known?" My response was instantaneous. "Mr. Bennett, it shouldn't be relevant whether he's a veteran or not. Assault remains assault. However, the reality that it would exclusively matter to you if you knew his background reveals everything about your character. Friends, before I reveal my next action, I request you, comment below. Have you witnessed disrespect toward elderly individuals? This matters. It concerns our collective dignity." The attorney attempted intervention. "Your Honor, my client is youthful. He misspoke. However, the evidence will demonstrate—" "Evidence," I interrupted. "Counselor, I've examined the evidence. Let's view it collectively." I signaled to display the footage. We all observed as the BMW accelerated through the park, as Brandon applied the brakes forcefully, exited, and violently thrust the elderly man. We witnessed how he positioned himself above him, shouting, then departed. It was indisputable. "Still believe this is absurd, Mr. Bennett?" I asked when the display darkened. Brandon turned ashen, yet his toxic pride continued battling. "Your Honor," his voice wavered, "I experienced a difficult day. I received troubling news. I wasn't thinking rationally." "A difficult day?" My eyes constricted. "I've occupied this bench extensively. I've witnessed individuals who forfeited their employment, their residences, their offspring. You know their response. They don't assault elderly individuals due to a difficult day." I approached nearly adjacent to him. "I'll explain what transpired, Mr. Bennett. You've existed your entire existence believing you're exceptional. You presumed your father's status was your protection, that you were invulnerable. However, in my courtroom, surnames and connections are irrelevant. Exclusively the law matters." Then arrived the moment nobody anticipated. I directed my attention to the chamber's rear and spoke loudly. "Commander Bennett, please advance forward." The entire chamber rotated. Brandon spun sharply. Gradually, Andrew Bennett rose. He'd remained present throughout. He heard every word his offspring uttered. He witnessed the absence of remorse. Upon his features was not fury, but profound paternal anguish. "Father, what brings you here?" Brandon whispered, and his arrogance disintegrated completely. The commander traversed the aisle. He wasn't wearing his uniform, merely the attire of an exhausted father. "Your Honor, appreciation for permitting my presence," he stated, standing rigidly. "Commander," I said, "your offspring believes your position will shield him, that he's beyond accountability. I'm providing you the opportunity to address that." The chamber suspended its breath. A father must choose. Andrew inhaled deeply. "Your Honor, my offspring is mistaken. I've served this community for 35 years. I've apprehended murderers and corrupt authorities, and never once did I believe my credentials granted me permission to violate the law." "Father, Brandon commenced. "Brandon, silence." The father's commanding gesture silenced him. "You've spoken sufficiently." Andrew turned toward me. "I viewed the recording. I understand his actions. And I'm present not as Police Commander Bennett, but as a father who failed. I didn't instruct him regarding the most crucial matter, respect and humility. I believed I taught him to protect the vulnerable. However, somewhere I erred, and that failure stands precisely here." Brandon began weeping for the initial time. "Father, please." The commander observed his offspring and spoke words destined for historical record. "Brandon, I love you. However, love doesn't signify concealing you from consequences. Love means compelling you to answer for your conduct so you transform into a man." He redirected toward me. "Your Honor, I request you. Whatever sentence you impose, I will endorse it. My offspring disgraced my service and assaulted a hero. He merits the complete force of the law. I won't interfere. Actually, exercise greater severity than typical. He requires this lesson presently before he commits something worse." The chamber buzzed. A police commander requesting punishment for his offspring. "Father, I apologize," Brandon sobbed. "Brandon," Andrew stated sternly, "yesterday I visited Mr. Santos. I apologized on your behalf. And do you comprehend his response? He stated, 'Commander, your offspring requires assistance, not protection.' And he's correct. I absorbed this with emotion constricting my throat. 'Commander Bennett,' I said, 'gratitude for your courage. Selecting justice over the instinct to shield a child, that requires extraordinary strength.' I rotated toward the young individual. 'Mr. Bennett, did you comprehend what occurred? Your father could have attempted to eliminate this, however he selected honor. He selected the law. That exemplifies integrity.' Your Honor, I apologize profoundly. I was wrong." Brandon expressed through tears. "Those represent the initial genuine words from you today," I acknowledged. "However, apology is insufficient." I announced the sentence. And it wasn't merely punishment, it represented a rehabilitation strategy. "Brandon Michael Bennett, I determine you guilty. You will serve 90 days incarcerated. However, that's not complete. You will execute 200 hours of community service at the Veterans Hospital. You will complete an anger management program. You will compose a letter to Mr. Santos and apologize personally." Brandon nodded. "Yes, Your Honor." "And one additional requirement," I continued. "You will produce a video apology for the police social media platforms where you explain your actions. Transparency represents the finest remedy for arrogance. And following your release, you will address the academy cadets and explain where believing in your immunity leads. Your father will facilitate it." "Your Honor," Commander Bennett added, "Brandon will also vacate my residence. He's 32 years old. It's appropriate for him to reside independently and understand that privilege is earned." Brandon regarded his father with shock. However, Andrew stated, "It's time to mature, son." I asked William Santos if he wished to contribute anything. The veteran rose. "Your Honor, I don't desire vengeance. I desire this individual to comprehend. Every person merits respect. If he learns that, then it wasn't meaningless." These words finally disarmed everyone. Nobility confronting baseness. "Mr. Bennett," I stated for the final time, "the individual you assaulted demonstrated mercy. Contemplate that in your cell. Court is concluded." I struck the gavel. Officers approached Brandon. However, Commander Bennett stepped toward his offspring. They remained for a moment, then the father embraced him firmly. "I love you," I heard Andrew whisper. "However, I love you sufficiently to permit you to experience this. You will improve." "I apologize, Father." "Demonstrate it." When Brandon was escorted away, Andrew Bennett remained standing with tears visible. I approached him and extended my hand. "You performed the correct action," I stated quietly. "It doesn't diminish the pain," he replied. "However, it's worthwhile." I addressed the chamber. "You didn't merely witness a trial today. You witnessed a choice. Commander Bennett selected justice. That exemplifies genuine leadership." The chamber erupted in applause. William Santos approached the commander and extended his hand. "Your offspring is fortunate to possess a father like you. He will learn." 6 months elapsed. Brandon Bennett departed incarceration a transformed individual. He'd reduced weight and acquired humility. His 200 hours at the hospital evolved into permanent volunteering. He developed a friendship with William Santos, who became his mentor. His video accumulated millions of views, becoming education for youth. Commander Bennett attended therapy with him. Their relationship was reconstructed on a new foundation: honesty. And Brandon, that identical, presumptuous individual, presently works as an advocate for veterans' rights. My decision that day and his father's courage didn't merely punish a criminal. We rescued a human being. If this account moved you, distribute it. And remember my words. Genuine love isn't protection from consequences. It's support on the path of redemption. That's the legacy of my court. That's the courage of Andrew Bennett. And that's the mercy of William Santos. Justice delivered. Lesson absorbed.